welcome back, South Africa and everyone on the African continent. Thank you very much for joining us right here on the Morning Express with myself, Harmony Mbele. And it has been really a delightful honor and privilege to be in the comfort of your home. And for those watching us on Facebook, good morning and welcome back from the ad break. And at this point, I get to be joined by a pioneer of note within the African continent. And I am talking about the man himself, Dr. Charles Sinkala, one of the presidential people within the 55 countries within the African continent and also part of the political forum within Africa. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning, Harmony, and thank you very much for having me, and good morning to your viewers.
Thank you very much. I mean, I am shaking in your presence to know that you are a man that is a well of wisdom within the African continent, and we should be really conversing and engaging with leaders like yourself in terms of how then does the inauguration of the presidential-elect yesterday, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris being the first female vice president within the United States of America, really get to affect the African continent sworn into presidency yesterday. How then does that entire relationship get to affect the African continent?
Yes, thank you very much. That's a very good question, and I think I've answered the past 24 hours. I've answered 16 times.
16 times.
On the spotlight, I've attended many TV stations from last night. You know, and it is very important because Africa would like also to know, you know, as well as the world and the people, as we had likely mentioned before offline, that, you know, it is the dependency of seeing how the world is moving from outside, you know, that Africa will be determined by those steps.
Yes.
But I would like to explain to you in not many terms that United States of America, it is a country built on a system. The power is institutionalized. You know, the power and policies are institutions. The presidential candidates and the political aspect of it, it's only about a mere 10%. So when you hear about an executive order has been signed by the president, it's like a bill presented to the president to sign, to endorse, and to make it into law. That is his only job. So the president does not have that much power to change things, you know, as the world may perceive it.
Certainly.
You know, many of these things are managed by either the Senate or the Congress, which has been decided by experts. You know, so we hear Donald Trump talking about whatever, but it just scratches on the surface. But America has been institutionalized, and America goes to an agenda for an American people. Not about the world, not about the South Africans, not about the Africans, you know, not about the Malawans, the Zambians, or wherever in the world, but the American people.
So, and I mean, it is the American dream after all, and that is what they are creating for themselves and the country that they are, the United States of America. I mean, you speak of so many points to be mentioned. I mean, looking, and I mean, even Joe Biden, the president at this point, signed 16 of those new bills into order in his first 24 hours in the seat of being president. Also looking into now the former president, that we could call him Donald Trump, he never visited Africa, nor South Africa, or any other African continent, and he called it multiple names, slaying it to be that we are not efficient enough, we are not the greatest continent within the world, even countries within the continent in Africa. But do you think that Joe Biden will presumptuously visit Africa or even South Africa or any other country?
For what? I mean, why do you need the American president to visit South Africa or Africa in that matter? That's a question that we have to ask. What is the greatest importance that these world leaders from outside, whom keeps the economy of the first economical power in the world, has to visit the country? What impact has it got? We must remember that Africans must participate on the table of an exchange, a mutual exchange. United States of America, an arm of CDC through their health department, brings about 70 billion rand to South African government. And that amount does not come easily. You know, it comes with demands. It comes with conditions that South African government must give priority to American companies and American people. And going below that, they also have got special tax. The tax you pay is not the employees of the United States pay in South Africa. The tax the American companies like Pfizer, You know, it's not a tax your company businesses will pay. So they've got those preferential treatment. That's why you find that even the COVID pandemic vaccines has been given to Johnson Controls, has been given to Pfizer. Those are prioritized. So if you look at the across the board, you know, it is not a mutual agreement with the United States of America. That's why you find that Africa, where they would like to say we want to be mutual in terms of exchange, you bring me your R1, I'll give you $1. That's the exchange you're supposed to be. And talking about Joe Biden has been a project to be a president for a very long time.
He has been, from Barack Obama also serving that administration.
And if I can quickly explain to you that I know there was a video on social media which was speculating that Joe Biden stood against the apartheid regime.
Yes.
You know, he mentioned about yes, but you do not know what led him to go in Parliament or Congress, you know, to start debating that apartheid must fall. You know, the only reason why apartheid became an enemy to United States of America, because the apartheid government mentioned that if you have to trade with South Africa, the rand and the dollar must be the same. There's no way I can give out 16 rand, for instance, and you give me only $1. Yeah. That is not. So hence they started agitating that these things must be tamed. So that's how they started condemning. So everything, when you talk about Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, wherever he's resting, you know, he started saying we want Africans to decide and to sit on the negotiating table mutually. You know, you can't say we are helping you on HIV, like what one of the analysts from SABC mentioned last night, you know, whom I'm not even shy to talk about. You know, she mentioned, she's a very senior editor, she mentioned that America is assisting South Africa on HIV programs and girl child and whatever. You know, those are minor. So the 2% of what America is getting.
The actual work that we are putting in as a country.
As Africans, we must wake up from the slumber. We must not be doomed. I can't come to you and say, okay, I'm doing mutual business while it is not even mutual. What do you call mutual bilateral agreements? What do you call international law and relations in terms of multilateral and unilateral relations with countries? It has to be mutual. You know, so these are the issues that we fail to understand. And Joe Biden, yes, is elected as president of the United States of America.
Yes.
What does it bring to Africa? You know, it will be the same thing. You must remember also, like you likely mentioned, he was a vice president of
the previous predecessor,
Obama, and he was promised that once Obama finishes his term, he is going to continue. They will continue. Those 16 executive orders which we've talked about, they were presented through Congress and Senate many years ago before they even thought of electing Joe Biden as president. He's just endorsing them as his duty of a president, just to put something into law. The law is made through parliament, like the set of South Africa, is debated by political parties, stakeholders, and everybody debates on it, and it's taken to with the facts and evidence to the president just to endorse.
Yes.
So that's the job of him.
Certainly, but I think also looking at it, I mean, I also want to understand now the powers that South Africa, and even not even South Africa on its own, but the African continent as a whole, how then should we perceive the inauguration of the new president within the United States of America? Is it something we should be excited about? Is it something that we look at and say that it's a good thing for Americans, but then how then do we get to benefit, if we can in any means, as a continent in Africa, knowing that we've always been sidelined when it comes to everything? I mean, we are looking at the Pfizer deals, all these other vaccines that are coming out. In Europe, they're already having them. They're already vaccinating, and we are only also trying to secure a deal, paying billions already to secure those deals. It's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money everywhere across the African continent. How then do we say that we see the inauguration? You've on to what extent we've seen Joe Biden speaking and advocating for the apartheid regime, but how then do we as Africans say that this is what we stand for as Africans and that is what you stand for, and how then do we find common ground in that?
This give you the two different scenarios.
Yes.
The Zimbabwe inauguration was that 2017-2018 when R.G. Mugabe was removed. You know, that brought hope to South Africa.
Yes.
Because Zimbabwe said the power lies into politicians.
Definitely.
You know, so a change of government, a change of regime will change the policies and the mindset of the way Zimbabwe economically and politically behaves. But in the set of United States of America, nothing changes. American dream is an American citizen first. So whether they will come and put a big infrastructure building in South Africa, corner Catherine Street and Rivonia, American Embassy, or in Hatfield there in Pretoria Street and wherever street there that, you know, they are bringing investment, you ask them, what is it in for them to bring you this? Same I come to your family, I offer you a lot of things. You must also ask the question, why is he helping me?
Certainly, because there is something that you're going to want.
That we must understand. So the two different countries I've given you an example are different, because United States of America is a complete government. Whether they've got a puppet president or they've got a president who thinks the economy of the United States of America has got nothing to do with anything else. People have got high hopes in terms of racial discrimination and workplaces and black power and black lives, whatever which was going on there. That has died. It will still be the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, black people, if they were never going to stand up, you know, to present themselves on the dinner table as diners, you know, there will always be food to be eaten or utensils to be used on the dinner table, like what Professor Lumumba has always said. So these are the issues that we should not, you know, freedom, we must grab it.
Yes.
You know, no one is going to give you freedom by, you know, even Obama, you know, we had very high hopes because it comes from Kenya. He's got these links. What did he do? A lot of people has criticized him. He killed Gaddafi, he killed a lot of people in the world. You know, also Trump as well, outgoing president, is gone, actually not even outgoing, but is gone.
Yes.
You know, he also killed somebody in Iran. You know, this is the issue. And like I mentioned, if America, you do not trade with them, then they get 90% of that, what they want. They will make the people, your citizens, as president, to turn against you and to make sure that you're eliminated. That's how Muammar Gaddafi was killed. Because of all his riches, he said, this is for the people. But America said they want the oil and they make up all these big demands. He refused.
Yeah.
So they campaigned against his own people, and he was dethroned and he was killed just like a leper on the street by his own people. Saddam Hussein, we can't forget, is United States of America. Patrice Emery Lumumba in 1960, 1961, it's allegedly information which we do not have on written, but we are told that the CIA eliminated him. So,
certainly.
So these are the issues that we have to be very careful in terms of celebrating. You know, sometimes we'll be celebrating our own demise.
It's certainly, and I think I want to agree with you in certain aspects and say that how then do we break the mind of African people in the chains that we are bound by, that we do not see? Through our education system, through what we are taught, through what is televised, through what we then celebrate, and not understanding what we are celebrating, because the entire world is then celebrating what is happening and the events that are happening within the United States of America, being the inauguration that we are currently speaking about. But there are so many Pan-African ideologies that we've really set aside, pushing an American dream, pushing a dream for the betterness of the African continent, not seeing that we are being taken, a lot of resources, raw resources within the African continent are being abstracted and we are only being sold to them as final products. Then how then do we teach our young people, our old people, that the ideologies of Africa is only powerful, and we should also learn from the likes of yourself, Doctor? Then how do we continue those ideologies moving forward, and what events do we celebrate? How do we look at them? How do we put the microscope and look into them as African people to own whatever that is African within our borders?
Firstly, we must invest into people. An American citizen, last time I checked, is worth $750,000. One. So now you multiply by 320 million. That's the value of a citizen. That's why United States of America, if you've got very exceptionally talent, they will give you citizen within 2 minutes. You know, they make sure that they get whatever smart people from wherever, Africa, whatever, a lot of. And if you look at the population in United States of America, there's no single person called American. The real Americans, they were American Indies. You know, the Indians, those are Americans. Donald Trump, who is not American, is from Europe. The Joe Biden, who's been elected, is Jewish. You know, Obama is from Kenya. You know, the Bush administration also came from other, you know,
parts of the world.
Of course, they don't mind. Now, when you come here in Africa, we say, no, this one is not what, you know, this is white. They don't care about that as long as you do the things correctly. So to answer you the question very quickly goes to education. What things are we pumping into the mindset of the babies who are being born every now and then?
Yeah.
And I think because of the Jesus industry, excuse me if I have to divert to that, there's been a lot of misconception and understanding, because John 10 verse 13 or whatever, it says subdue the world and multiply. So as we multiply, but how do we do with these kids who are being born into earth?
Yes.
You know, a child born into earth doesn't know anything, cannot read, cannot see, cannot talk, cannot cook, cannot even drive a car. We pump in the knowledge, just like you buy a MacBook from Incredible Connection. You need to buy software and virus and whatever.
Yeah.
So we go to the basic education. What education should we give them? Do we give them an education of photosynthesis, or who is the president of the United States of America, or who the Shaka Zulu was, and who is the president in Zambia? Or do we teach them the basics of economical exchange? How do we exchange? How do you coexist as an individual? How can you be an entrepreneur? How can you be creative? How can you think, you know, and create something? How can we do industrialization? You know, those are the things which we have to teach the children. Now we teach them that you must get a degree, now get a master's, now get a PhD, and get a high-paying job. But if everybody is looking for a high-paying job, who will be going to be creating the jobs?
Small things, exactly.
You understand?
But
so that's an analogy that we have to do, that we start pumping the good sense of knowledge, and we shouldn't be dependent on the international community, because international community, they've got their own agenda, and Africa is from you know, it's in pieces. It is not united. We say we are African people, Pan-Africanism, what you've talked about. There's a lot of Pan-Africanist organization, all of them work in different directions. We're not working individually. We are working, South Africa is alone, Zimbabwe is alone, and all of them, they are alone. So we need to get together, that we hold ourselves, hold each other together. When we say in South Africa that our rand exchange with the United States dollar must be equal, you know, otherwise we're not going to trade with them. You know, America needs Africa trade. You know, America needs the raw materials, and we should stop sending raw materials and, like what you said, only receive whatever. United States of America, China, they do not export raw materials. Raw materials are your products that you have to use as your tool to produce a product for you to sell.
And that's how we create industries.
Of course, you industrialize like that. But if you sell a raw material, Unilever, they do byproducts, soap and whatever, detergents and whatever, but you're never going to see them selling the raw materials, otherwise they'll be out of business.
That is a big one, and I think I also would have loved to touch on multiple aspects, because this for me is its own education system that you are propelling and giving us information in terms of it's time that we wake up. If we come together as the African continent, we can really do so much and focus on aspects that we need to grow in terms of our economy, in terms of business, in terms of education, and other multiple chains that we are bound by. And one would say, here's an idea, an ideology for a minute. If we were to say that we are closing down the borders of the African continent and we are going to be using the same rand. We've had this conversation multiple times through the multiple decades within centuries within Africa. What would it look like if we were all to use the same currency in the African continent?
We have the same value. Remember barter system. It was a trade. Yes, of course. I can't give you a pair of shoes, then you give me a banana suit or a banana. It doesn't make sense. So the exchange, you know, I've studied the MBA in business. I've studied up to PhD in business just to understand economics. I've been to a lot of economists. I've been sitting with the economists who are whatever. They've never told me why the rand is 16 rand and why the dollar is
just $1.
You understand? Why do we give so much rands just to receive $1
of it?
You know, the whole economy, if you talk about bilateral economic exchange, has to be equal. So now when you talk about the Intercontinental Africa Free Trade Area Agreement, which we have just signed, look at the economy of Lesotho. Lesotho, less than 2-3 million people with the GDP. Let's not talk even about the GDP. They don't have money, okay? and now you look at the economy of China and you open the borders of trade,
Yes.
free trade. How can you put a slender boxer with Mike Tyson? Like the way you're looking, very smart. You've
Yes.
kept your six-pack. We put you with Mike Tyson there, he's going to knock you down
will,
within
certainly.
a second. Even if he's retired, but once he takes out that punch, he will knock you down. So that trade, in terms of trade and economics, it's not fair. You know, because when you open up the borders to Lesotho or South Africa, China is working on a R1 profit. You are working on a R100 profit because you are selling in small quantities. China will flood in things here, and at the end of the
Definitely.
day, our manufacturing industries will be closed.
Yeah.
Arrowed South, you go to Arrowed South, you go to Germiston, where we had industries
Wadeville,
manufacturing.
many of them.
It's closed.
That
It's
is a
closed.
big one.
You know, it's all closed because they can't compete. Because it's cheaper for somebody to bring diapers from China than
Into
to
South
manufacture, you know. And now our, what you call the unions are not being compassionate,
Yes.
or they are not being proactive in terms of trying to build companies. You know, or what they are demanding, no, we need increment for workers. The whole workforce and the environment has been depleted. That's why you find people just, let me close my warehouse.
Yeah.
I'll just have a warehouse where I can order things and straight deliver.
And
to
also
Pick and
sell them, certainly. But
That's it.
Doctor, I think we are really running out of time at this point. Thank you very much
We
for
always
joining me.
run out of time
We
when we're
always.
talking about good things like this. But I'm happy with this type of platform which you've put, because this is an alternative media that we need. You can beam it direct onto Facebook.
Yes.
Without even being regulated by the government.
Yeah.
You know, once you are regulated by the government, they want to tell you what you need
What to say and how
You
to say it
understand?
and which
But
path.
with this democracy, I'm very happy, and I think thank you very much for inviting
Thank you very much. I think we need an entire hour, a special with the great Dr. Charles Sinkala. We absolutely need to host you for a full hour, and we really get to converse about all things happening within the African continent and the entire world, and what ideologies and ideas that we get to stem within our young people on the African continent. From myself, Doctor, thank you very much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Well, South Africa and everyone on the African continent, that was obviously the amazing Dr. Charles Sinkala joining me right in the Morning Express. So stay tuned for more updates and news after this.
Make massive moves.
The space race has already started.
Russia had got the first object into space.
The coast is as wild today as it was when Europeans settled the continent.
Enormous beasts with enormous thirst. The teams are primed and ready.
They got the first animal into space, and they got the first person.
Time to see what the boys can do.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
I feel confident. I feel like I can take on the world.
So you're telling a story through your clothes.
Such a professional, you wouldn't even know.
Criticism is one of my biggest motivations.
Darling, you want to be a model?
Like, oh my God.
I'm glistening.
The fashion industry needs people with beautiful faces.
And welcome back from the ad break. Thank you very much for joining us right here on the Morning Express. It has been an absolute pleasure to be in the comfort of your homes, and everyone watching us on Facebook. Good morning. You are watching us on Galaxy Universal Network, streaming live all things happening in South Africa. Well, a lot of things have really transpired this morning. I just had a beautiful conversation with Dr. Charles Sinkala about really what has been happening within the African continent and the inauguration of President Joe Biden within America. So that has been a delightful conversation to be had. But as we continue with more news, updates in South Africa and throughout the world. And KwaZulu-Natal Premier Sihle Zikalala praised the veteran broadcaster Welcome Bodloza Nzimande for using radio as a platform for transformation and giving hope to those who had to endure apartheid. And Zikalala addressed 50 mourners during Nzimande's special official funeral in Richmond on Wednesday, where he had been buried and laid to rest.
kwi-COVID-19 ngineqiniso lokuthi ukuthi ngabe siyasiduduza ngengoma yama-Soul Brothers sithi kuyadabukisa okwenzeka kulo mhlaba esiphila kuwo. Izinyembezi zihlale zigcwele amehlo njalo nje. Akusewona unyaka nonyaka, kepha sekuwusuku nosuku sihlala sikhala. Yingakho umongameli esivumelile uma sicela ukuthi sihloniphe umphephetho.
Flags were being flown at half-mast at the provincial government building from 6 p.m. on Tuesday to 6 p.m. on Wednesday in the season radio's man honor, knowing that the great man from Ukhozi FM did amazing work on radio and Nzimande died last Friday.
Masisiduduze ngencwadi ethi kukhona isikhathi enkonke kubekelwe isikhathi sakho. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to heal, a time to kill. A time to break down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance.
Nzimande was best known for his broadcasting work with the SABC, where he made his mark as an announcer for the then Radio Zulu in 1976. And after 19 years at the station, he became the station manager of present-day Ukhozi FM and would occupy the position for 13 years. And also knowing that he was an exceptional, mindful, brilliant broadcaster at the time, it has been really an exceptional time to know that other anchors at Ukhozi FM got to really get a lot of well of wisdom from the great Bodlos, really to be laid to rest. And thank you very much for the well of wisdom. But as we continue with more news and updates right here in South Africa and throughout the world, and we are taking a look at all things happening in South Africa at this point, we are going to be taking a look at what has really been transpiring throughout the world and the basic education province updates on exam marking, and also taking a look at what has been happening. The 6 provinces have concluded the marking of matric scripts at the rest of expected to finish on Friday. At a media briefing this morning, Basic Education Director General, also Director of the National Examination, outlined the province, followed then by marking guidelines in South Africa. Also knowing that most provinces have finished what they're marking at the marking centers, are waiting for all things to be happening with Umelus and the 2 examination papers that were leaked. All that and more after this.
Marking, really the 2 are not comparable, and therefore want to say thank you very much to each and every marker. We regret those who have fallen in the course of carrying out this exercise. Both markers and officials, the sector has suffered a number of fatalities during the course of this exercise. We've lost also chief markers, internal moderators, some at national level, some at provincial level. And this is the expertise, skills and competencies and experience that you acquire over many years. So it will take some time for the sector to replace these men and women. But we are eternally grateful to each and every.
And also moving on to our international news right here on the Morning Express, and we are taking a look at the American President-elect Joe Biden was vowed to be the president for all Americans, including those who did not support his presidential campaign. And Biden was speaking during the inauguration as the 46th President of the United States of America on Wednesday. And Biden was elected alongside his Vice President Kamala Harris, and the first woman and African American to occupy the position. And this certainly says women are certainly taking up space in every avenue and position throughout the world.
His administration may be conducted in righteousness and be eminently useful to your people. Today we confess our past failures to live according to our vision of equality, inclusion, and freedom for all. Yet we resolutely commit still more now to renewing the vision, to caring for one another in word and deed, especially the least fortunate among us, and so becoming a light for the world. There is a power in each and every one of us that lives by turning to every other one of us, a thrust of the Spirit to cherish and care and stand by others, and above all, those most in need. It is called love, and its path is to give ever more of itself. Today, it is called American patriotism.
The freedoms we have today, the nation we have today, is not here just because it happened, and they aren't complete. A great democracy working through the successes and failures of our history, striving to be better than it had been.
And also moving on to what might just seem to be a sad story, but a positive one for Americans that voted for Joe Biden. President Donald Trump left the White House for the last time on Wednesday and skipping the inauguration of his successor, Joe Biden, as the 46th U.S. president in an extraordinary break with tradition and drawing a certain on the most tremendous administration of modern times. Donald Trump is being ousted by the popular opposite, with the Democratic Biden intent on charity new courses to tackle COVID-19 and the sparked nation that is really broken into two because of supporters of the outgoing and really former President Donald Trump, and also the new one, Mr. Joe Biden.
Being your First Lady was my greatest honor. Thank you for your love and your support. You will be in my thoughts and prayers.
And thank you very much for joining us right here on the Morning Express. It has been a delightful pleasure and honor to be in the comfort of your homes. And right there, for those that are watching us on Facebook, good morning and thank you very much. But from myself, Harmony Mbele, and the rest of the team that works tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure we are on air 9 a.m. till 10 a.m., making sure that all this news from top of the hour at 9 a.m. is brought to you courtesy of Galaxy Universal Network. From myself, once again, have an amazing day. Good morning.